What is up, everybody? Today we're gonna be uh, Today we're gonna be making a tier list and analyzing every episode of the brand new season of the wonderfully weird world of Gumball. If I can speak, we can get through this a little quicker. So the first episode, the burger, is first episode of the season. With that same intro as you might have seen in the trailer. By the way, just real quick, spoilers ahead. There, I will be spoiling a lot because I found the season to actually be pretty decent for some of the episodes, as you will see. Now, in my opinion, the burger was pretty decent. I mean, nothing too crazy about it, to be honest. Besides the joke about like when at the end when they had to eat the burger, like the big CEO burger, and he was just in a box. That was kind of interesting, I guess. Uh, I mean, it was kind of weird that they were making jokes about like corporate greed the entire time, and I understand it, but like that show was made for kids, you know. Like I'd really, I would, I would honestly have more fun, and I had more fun when the episodes were just about were just like joking around and kid stuff. You know what I mean? So for that, I'm gonna put the burger. Let's put it at a C. It's fine. Next up, the assistant. The assistant follows Nicole Watterson, who we first hear her voice in this one, I believe, where she is front and center this entire episode. She is on her she is on her computer and realizes that a recent update has added a personal assistant feature. After a couple days of talking to her and becoming friends with that personal assistant, she gets sent into this VR landscape. She gets sent into a VR landscape where she then meets the VR assistant, who, using her liked on different profiles, settings, and websites, creates her own avatar to directly influence Nicole's actions. Trying to fully control her, the assistant fails to fully control Nicole and has this kind of weird X vibe with her, which I found to be pretty funny at times. And it was a very good, happy ending as per usual with the Gumball episodes. B. It was like a 7 out of 10. The Distance. The Distance follows the two main guys, Gumball and Darwin, as the family starts to realize they might need to spend a little bit of time apart. Uh, because they're pretty much fusing into one person, like in that really weird episode where Anais becomes like a clicker from Last of Us with the one girl, Joni. So what happens in that Richard makes in the basement? Following all of this, it then cuts to Gumball going on a website where he becomes a little bear to speak with Darwin. After not getting much reply out of him, he tries to video call him, and in the preview video, it shows Darwin hanging out with Tobias and Joe, and Darwin saying that Gumball wasn't supposed to see this, which leads Gumball to feel depressed, anxious about possibly losing his best friend and partner for throughout pretty much his entire life. Following this, he then goes to meet Darwin about it, where he then realizes that he was just being a little crazy, and the reason they were saying that he wasn't supposed to see this is because Darwin was also missing him very much, leading him to make a special area in his room just for Gumball. All in all, extremely wholesome, A tier. Next up, The Thing. The Thing follows Richard as he is told to try and remember after forgetting, he's trying to remember the thing that Nicole wants him to get for this dinner party that he's having with Granny JoJo. The entire episode, Nicole has been stressing about the dinner party. She's freaking out. She's overcooking. She's just extremely anxious and looks like she's just gonna explode. This episode follows the boys, Gumball and Darwin, and Richard as they go around Elmore using Richard's weird power of photographic memory that is triggered by re-eating foods that he had eaten at that specific spot and time. Doing this, they are still unable to find the thing that they want, and that by the end, they think that the thing that Nicole wants is Granny JoJo to be at the dinner party because it's all she's been talking about is how she's going that she has to make it look good for Granny JoJo. She has to make the food good for Granny JoJo. She has to make a special meal, wear something special, look nice, talk nice, make jokes for Granny JoJo. Everything centered around her. So he realizes and remembers that Granny JoJo is still at the bus stop and she's been waiting there for 6 hours. As he sends in the boys, the main door is shut and the bus stop closes for the night, meaning that he can't get the thing that Nicole wants. Sad and a little embarrassed, he heads home. He heads back home to their house and tells Nicole everything. How he went around Elmore, but he just couldn't find the thing. He couldn't get Granny JoJo. He's all sad. He's beaten up. He's beating himself up about it, which leads Nicole to explain that the thing that she really wanted was just to have a little alone time without Granny JoJo and just him and Rich and just her and Richard. Very wholesome, very cute. I liked it a lot. Honestly, it's an S tier. Plus, Fantastic Four, fire. Okay. Episode 5, The Butts. Not great to be honest. I mean, it was cool, They had a couple funny jokes in there. It pretty much just it follows Principal Brown, funny enough. Really happy to see there was a lot more. Honestly, there was a lot more like kind of like pseudo main characters, like sub characters, and just recurring that were actually getting a lot of screen time in this season, which I was really excited to see because it kind of like dives back into that into their story and kind of helps us. I think this season is going to be a really good benchmark for whatever next season that they make, where hopefully we can see what Rob has been up to and how that's all going to shake out now knowing the stuff that we know with the teachers, principals, and other recurring characters. So, the episode of the Butts follows Principal Brown as follows Principal Brown and the boys as when the boys go into this room, um, Principal Brown's like weird about his butt. Like I don't know. It's kind of a weird whole joke there. He's like, oh, nobody look at my butt, and then he looks at his butt and he thinks he's like super ugly, which leads them first to try and make him like himself, like to try and make him love himself, which I think is very wholesome, cute. It was nice. It was very cute. It was very a lot of cute scenes. But unfortunately, it appears that Principal Brown was kind of a lost cause and all that, as after looking at himself in the mirror, boosting himself up, he then looks at his butt and he corrodes the entire Watterson home in this black gunk of like black mold and grossness, just because of his hatred for himself and his anus, which leads them to go, all right, well, if we can't make you love yourself now, let's figure out why you don't like it, which cuts back to little Principal Brown when he was a junior high student and he was getting bullied by the now real superintendent, not Superintendent Evil, as was stated in the last season, because obviously we would know that that is Rob. That was Rob in disguise trying to change them so that they wouldn't get canceled, which I thought was a really cool season and show finisher. But no, I'm really excited to see what they do with that. But it leads to him, you know, fighting his fears, and it cuts to the end scene with with a dance party at the main auditorium of the school, with the superintendent watching in disgust as uh, Principal Brown finally learns to love himself. All in all, very Very, very wholesome, very wholesome A tier. Episode 6, The Traffic. The traffic starts us off with Nicole reading about a story that Daisyland, the hit top tier theme park, is getting destroyed because it's so terrible and just killing a bunch of people, and they are not paying their taxes and all this other terrible things that are happening over there because it was made so poorly. Which leads to a couple jokes about companies cutting corners to make a quick buck, which I thought was pretty decent. Along with Nicole then trying to get to Daisyland the day before it gets shut down because it's been 2 years since she got these tickets for Anais, and 2 years have gone by that she wasn't able to go with her because of the boys being Gumball, Darwin, and Richard getting into trouble, hijinks, mischief, all that jazz. So they have to trek the traffic. It leads to a lot of pretty funny scenes, like one where Darwin gets super scared of a animatronic baby so bad that he runs out of the car, and Nicole driving like in reverse all the way back to Elmore to talk to Penny through a mirror because Gumball sent a text through autocorrect that or through voice to chat that was very, very bad and completely misinterpreted. So Nicole just had to tell her that he didn't mean it and everything, and that they should just call next time, which I thought was pretty funny. Oh, and also, so after they talk to Penny, they get back on the street, and they go through all these different, um, like challenges and stuff like that with the car. They go into the sewers, and Anais is telling them about, and Anais the entire time is talking about how what they're doing in the car is a lot like the rides that she wanted to ride at Daisyland. And it turns out that it was one of the more cliche jokes about, it's not about the destination. It was literally the destination was the journey that they made along the way because they had gone through everything that they needed to go through. But by the end, they do make to Daisyland, and they get to do the two things that Anais was missing before without even going inside. As they were outside, a group of the kindness parade on fire, running out of there because of how terrible the park is. And then Anais finally gets to hug Daisy through a statue that gets launched and smashes her into the pavement. But obviously she's okay because it's a cartoon. All in all, B tier. Very fun. Very good. Episode 7, The Astrological. The Astrological follows Mr. Small, which I was really happy to see, as he is brought in to be a substitute science teacher for uh, Elmore Junior High. Bef- uh, he starts teaching them about astrology, zodiac signs, all that stuff. And he starts pairing up couples with between the students and telling them who they're going to be with, who their soulmates are, which leads him to say that not only are Gumball and Penny not meant to be together, they will break up the same day. This leads Gumball to do a bunch of extravagant, over-the-top stuff, which just pushes Penny away even farther. And in the end, he thinks he's finally lost her until we, as the audience, realize that it was just a gas leak from the storage cabinet, um, and um, the rock, the stone that he's using, that turned everyone so lovey-dovey and Gumball insane. All in all, it's like a C tier. Episode 8, Cheerleader. This follows Richard and the boys, Gumball and Darwin. I'll just say the main three from now on. This follows the main three boys as they're going throughout, as we get a flashback to Richard as a child, where his mother is just beating him down. Like, I was so angry. I was really I really, this season is not very redeeming to Granny JoJo. I mean, they're making her out to be a terrible person, which, although I mean, she ain't great, but I mean, she isn't like terrible, but she ain't that good either. She's a very good neutral character. But this season is just tearing her to shreds, which I have learned from not only episode 4, which I do have here in S tier, but episode 8, which I'm just gonna put that in S tier as well, because this one is very good. This follows the boys and Richard as they go and do all the things that Richard was told that he'll never amount to anything at because of Granny JoJo's family lineage, and since she wasn't able to do anything, then he won't be good at anything either. I was I was livid watching this episode, just like the flashback and Granny JoJo just completely talking about how he won't amount to anything. That really shot to my core because my parents personally, I'm gonna yap a little bit. My parents personally, they are very nice. My parents are amazing people. They they support me at the start of everything, and I'm not gonna lie, when I was a smaller child, I was a big quitter. I would do things for about a week, and then after a while, if it got too hard, I just quit. I was a quitter. I was lazy and stuff like that, and that led me to be bedrotter and just a not great, very functional human being. More recently, of course, I have gotten into more in eighth grade. So in eighth grade, I had actually gone against my parents' wishes and joined the football team, which my parents, well, I'll say not parents plural, but specifically my mother did not enjoy that much. She thought, she said, and I quote, that if I joined football, I would break my head in um, KMS, just to sum it up. But so besides that, um, they've been nothing but supportive. My dad was supportive throughout the whole way. Because I mean we've been playing like football together. We've been like playing catch. You know what you do, dad. If you have a dad, you play catch with them. And instead of like baseball, my dad was more of a football guy, so we always threw around a football here and then, barbecue stuff like that. No, my mom was livid when I joined that. Yeah, I don't think I was really thinking of quitting after that eighth grade year, but I didn't, and now I'm going to be a sophomore in high school, and I'm still on the football team, and haven't looked back since. Other news, I also in seventh grade, I joined the tennis team, which led me to now, I am one of the top 50 tennis players in the state of Iowa, and I've been able to have a lot, and I was able to start on varsity as a freshman, which I thought was really cool, and that was a really great eye-opening experience to what I need to be, how I need to grow, stuff like that. And I've had a lot of, and it's led me down a really great path to have a lot of good conversations with college coaches, really think about like my future in tennis and sports and school, which I thought was really cool. I mean, I, for the viewers at home, I would really, really like coming from a person that used to quit everything, join a sport for real. Do something. Like you got to do something. Whether it's like volunteer, whether it's like, I mean, being a band, it doesn't have to be a sport. It doesn't have to be really through your school. Just do something besides school. You'll It'll make your life so much better. On that note, his entire life, Richard is told that he won't amount to anything, which leads him to not even try out to be a cheerleader, which was one of his big dreams in junior high. So the boys, going against Granny JoJo's wishes, sign him and train him to become a flyer for cheer. They go to the tryouts. They're killing it in the dance. They're killing it. The dances are going perfect, flawless, everything. Richard's looking like a star, looking like a shooting star, just jumping and flying everywhere. But unfortunately, he then catches the eye of Granny JoJo in the stands, which just destroys his self-esteem and makes him do really bad. But after a little bit of boosting from uh, from Gumball and Darwin, he finally lives out his dreams to be a flyer as he is he's launched into the air, and he finally it shares like a really great moment with the boys and Granny JoJo, Mr. Small, Principal Brown. It's just all around super wholesome, easy, very easy S tier, in my opinion. So now we're on to episode 9, The Boring. This uh this follows just the boys Gumball and Darwin, as they realize that talking to Molly the dinosaur, it was so boring that it literally stopped time as long as she was talking to them. Using this, they abuse this power as they're running around and not caring about anyone. They destroy and just completely like roast and hate on Tina's, the large T-Rex dinosaur's painting, which I thought was, kind of a dick move, but you know, it'll happen. So this then makes them use Molly's power to stop time and train kung fu for 100 years, becoming super wizards at kung fu, all leading to nothing because their kung fu does nothing against a T-Rex. So they finally have Molly talk to Tina for them at dinosaur to dinosaur, so they don't get an extreme beating that would probably kill them. It was kind of okay. I mean, honestly, I like how Molly has a power, but like I don't know, the boys are being annoying. C tier. Not for Molly, for the boys, because they were really bad in this. Okay, episode 10, halfway there. The teacher. The teacher. The teacher follows. Mrs. Sorry. The teacher follows the boys' main teacher, not Mr. Small, as she is Mrs. Garrison, I believe it is. The monkey teacher. Oh my God, why am I blanking on names now? Oh my God. Wait, give me 1 second. Oh my God. Gumball teacher. Yes. Oh my God, Miss Simeon. Oh my God. Oh no. Okay, back to that. This follows Miss Simeon, which I knew the entire time, as she is trying to make ends meet on a teacher's salary, which is, as we all know, if you've looked up any one of your teacher's salaries that didn't have a master or doctorate degree, it's terrible. I mean, they're paid pennies on the dollar, and they should be paid at least $40,000 more than they are. But unfortunately, with educational budgets in the U.S. and all this other, stuff, they're just not paid well. So this follows Miss Simeon as she has to do what she has to pawn stuff off to make ends meet, and it leads to the thumbprint, which is like the main thief. He's like this thief that goes around Elmore, stealing stuff and helping Miss Simeon find who stole her refrigerator to sell it off, leading to us figuring out that the coach, another teacher from Elmore Junior High, has been stealing stuff from the school and selling it, leading to Miss Simeon have to pay out of pocket for their laptops, calculators, and all this other stuff. Very good, very wholesome. It definitely shows Miss Simeon in like a new light. A tier. I'll put it above the butts because I'm not a huge fan of that one. Okay. Episode 11, the app. The app follows the boys and everyone and every student in Elmore Junior High as this new app, Chat, I believe it's called Chat Snap, is created by the homeless guy who used to be a coder for Elmore Plus. Using this algorithm that he used to make the most addicting website ever, he creates an app called Chat Snap, it makes every single student in Elmore Junior High completely addicted to their phones, leading them to get really pudged out, like weird eyes. It's I mean, it's really freaky when you see it. It was low-key scary for me, I'm not gonna lie. I was freaking out. So, this leads them to have to figure out a way to stop the app, but without breaking the servers or doing any of that, they can't find a way, leading them ultimately to lose to the app until Nicole Watterson, the parent of Gumball and Darwin, joins the app and makes hashtag mom goals and all this other stuff, and leading other parents to join, which makes the app die out and just terrible because parents cringe and all that. Love these here. Good nonetheless. Episode 12, the entrance. The entrance follows the boys as they are trying to make sure that their entrance to Tobias's huge mansion blowout is crazy and awesome. So and they want to live it out like perfect and get a bunch of O's, as quoting the episode. So this leads them to figure out that no one is really wanting to show up to Tobias's party, which yeah, I mean it's kind of sad for Tobias because it kind of showed. I mean, this season has kind of showed Tobias in a light that wasn't really shown too well in Amazing World of Gumball, because he was more shown as like the jock that's kind of rich. I mean, let's be honest, the super rich jockey type that is seemingly has a lot of friends. But in this season, it really shows that he's just kind of a loser. Like, I mean, this was kind of a sad episode for me because it like it really showed that like Tobias doesn't have many friends. Figuring this out, the boys go in their attic to find gifts so that they can kind of like pay people to go to the party to make their entrance even better, which leads them to find Cologne, which after spraying it gives them a type of a pseudo like drugged kind of feeling where they then spend 4 hours obsessing over the entrance, leading them to not make it to the party and be super late. So they have to find a driver, but they have the Cologne again, and the driver's car, and they mess with, and so messing with the driver's car explodes and all this other stuff, leading them to get arrested. And then and as they're getting arrested, they spray the cologne again, getting it on the cops, which leads the cops to crash right into to Elmore's jailhouse, where they meet up with all of the other kids that were spraying the cologne and rioting in the streets of Elmore, leading them to have a rager party in the Elmore Penitentiary. All in all, decent episode. Love you, too. Episode 13, The Letter. The letter follows Gumball, Darwin, uh, Penny, and Carrie, which this one's actually a relationship episode more with Darwin and Carrie, as Darwin is seeing like how Penny and Gumball are, how they're all like, I love you so much, all this stuff, which makes Darwin, um, which makes Darwin write a love letter to Carrie. And as he's putting it in her locker, Carrie shows up, and he's like, "Hey, Carrie, Carrie, there's a gift for you in that locker, from me to you," which leads Carrie to talk about how Carrie hates when humans say "I love you" to her, or hates just the word "I love you." Darwin, realizing this, is freaking out because he just gave her a love letter. So he thinks that he's going to get destroyed and just, just destroyed. So he spends the entire episode trying to get the love letter back, ultimately leading to Carrie finding out about the letter. And after reading it, she has a change of heart, and using Gumball's body, they kiss and all this other stuff. Very mushy, very fun, very cutesy. Low A tier, in my opinion. Episode 14, The Gut. This follows the main three boys, Gumball, Darwin, and Richard, along with Anais, as Richard, after eating so much, eats Anais's invention to make organic food, to make organic foods, carrots, be able to speak. As Richard eats the device, he then hears a voice. He's caught off guard by this. He looks down and you realize his stomach, from all the food that he's eaten, is speaking, and it carves itself into a mouth. The device then increases the intelligence of all the food in there, making Richard's stomach extremely smart, like Einstein smart. This leads Richard's stomach, we'll call him Rummick. This leads Rummick to share a bunch of experiences and be closer as a father to Anais than Richard ever was, which makes Richard really sad and annoyed. So, wanting to get rid of Rummick, he goes into the back of the fridge to try and eat a moldy, mushroom-infested, like yogurt, and it's gross looking. Going for this, Richard and Rummick have a big fight where Rummick is starting to where Rummick is controlling his arms, and it's kind of like that fighting yourself thing that happens in movies where they get taken over, but they're like fighting against each other. If they're fighting for control, ultimately Richard grabs the yogurt, eats it, and Rummick is defeated, leading to Anais being telling Richard that she likes him for him, and not and he doesn't need to be smart for her because she will always still love him, which I thought was super wholesome and sweet. S tier, in my opinion. Episode 15, The Wrinkle. The Wrinkle follows. The Wrinkle puts Anais front and center this episode, actually, which I was really excited to see. Back-to-back episodes of Anais being a more pinnacle character of the episode. As it is shown that Anais is stressing out so hard from having to deal with all the family's other problems that she is growing wrinkles at age 4. And it gets to such an extreme amount that her entire body becomes wrinkled, leading Nicole, and Richard and Darwin to have to solve their own problems, which in the end just swaps it and makes them look wrinkly, but saving Anais in the process. Very wholesome, very cute. B tier. Number 16, The Gourmet. The Gourmet specifically follows Gumball and Nicole, along with Yushi Yoshida and Masami Yoshida. Yuki Yoshida is the extremely rich wife to Nicole Watterson's boss, who owns the Rainbow Factory. Yuki and Nicole grew up together as children on a mountain, learning kung fu and training their entire lives to become super awesome and like powerful people. Gumball figuring out that Gumball figures out just how rich Masami is by looking at what she eats for lunch every day. Well, so while Gumball is having chicken nuggets for the fifth time this week, Masami is having gourmet truffle mac and cheese, leading Gumball to try and become Masami's best friend so he may try the truffle mac and cheese. This leads down a big path where Gumball is shown to be unappreciative of Nicole, and that makes Nicole angry. So Gumball goes to Yuki Yoshida's house to try and have the truffle mac and cheese. Before before he can have that, Yuki tells him that he has to become proper and look rich and act rich to have the truffle mac and cheese, which leads to this big montage of training to be proper, which means different outfit, different mannerisms, better balance, better posture, the whole nine yards. This leads Gumball finally to be served the truffle mac and cheese that he wants. But before he can eat it, guess who knocks on the door? But Nicole Watterson. She walks in and has a chat with Gumball, but he just wants to eat this truffle mac and cheese. It's a tough moment and one about how it's a tough moment showing, different households and different experiences throughout life and wanting more than you have. It's a tough. I'm not saying it's a tough watch. I'm A tier for sure. Very good in my opinion. Episode 16, The Pool. The pool follows the pool follows Richard, Gumball, Darwin, and then the next door neighbors. Gaylord Robinson. That is his actual name. Not making a joke here. This follow Gaylord Robinson, or Mr. Robinson, as he's just spoken of throughout the show. Uh, Mr. Robinson owns a pool in his backyard. So Richard, Gumball, and Darwin try and get into his pool so that they can cool off in the because of the hot summer heat. Mr. Robinson, being a really terrible person, tells them, get off his lawn, don't come near me, I hate you guys, stuff like that. Which is completely understandable because the Wattersons are shown to be complete screw ups and they always mess up stuff and break things, and they're just not 100% awesome people. So, trying to be invited to go into the pool, the main three boys try and ask Robinson why he won't have anyone in his pool, which leads him to go on this big rant of how he got the pool because he wanted to go in it with his son Rocky, but Rocky never went in it, and they never had a really great relationship growing up, which led to a lot of downfall and kind of like badgering each other and a lot. I mean, it's a pretty decently kind of sad, gushy, mushy moment. Gumball and Darwin then see Rocky on the street almost dying in the summer heat because he's getting dried out so bad. Telling so they tell Robinson that he's right outside. So Robinson goes, gets his son, and finally shares a good moment with him in the pool. Very cute, very wholesome. I'll put a mid B tier. Episode 18, nearly there. Episode 18, The Portrait, follows the entire Watterson family as they are trying to get the perfect family photo because in the past they have messed up so many times it's not even worth counting. This leads them
This leads them to hire Larry to be their photographer. And after numerous times of being interrupted by different family members, different people, and side quests, pretty much, they they they, they finally get a photo, but it's so bad that Nicole decides to just keep the old one up. To be honest, it's like a C tier. Episode 19, and the second to last episode of this season, The Climb. The Climb follows Gumball Darwin at Elmore Junior High as they have to climb a rock wall for their gym class. Gumball Gumball is completely scared of the rock wall because of his experience last year. As last year, Gumball was shown to be extremely confident going on the rock wall, even just walking up it instead of climbing up it because of how confident and good he felt about his ability, leading him to get caught or to get caught and eventually have to he loses his pantaloonies as they fall and everyone laughs at his shame. This makes Gumball not ever want to climb up the rock wall again. Uh, so he has to, kind of face his fears with the embarrassment, making which ultimately leads him to take off his pants before he starts climbing and climbs it completely, nearly half naked. A tier. The final episode of this season is called, and I might mess this up because it is a tough name, the Amadane. It's some witch thing, I think. I'm really not sure. I was kind of put off to this. I was kind of put off with the name, to be honest. I thought it was gonna be a scarier. It's gonna kind of a scarier one. So, this episode follows Gumball, Penny, and the entire Fitzgerald family, including Rob Fitzgerald or Robert, as he's in the show, Mr. Fitzgerald, and the entire family, like including grandparents, cousins, the whole family. Gumball, wanting to make a good impression, agrees and vows to wear a shell to partake in the Fitzgerald family's weird family traditions in order to help Penny get through the family birthday their big family birthday party and kind of keep her at ease. This leads Gumball and Penny to figure out that this leads Gumball to figure out that the Fitzgeralds aren't really as like backwoods as they thought, not using toilets, never coming out of their shell, and just kind of being really cultish. By the end, everyone in the Fitzgerald family finally takes off their shell, revealing their true forms, along with Mr. Fitzgerald, which I think is really cool because he was fully against it when Penny originally came out of her shell. All in all, very good, very wholesome, easy S tier. So, I would like to say, I would take this with a grain of salt. I am not an, at all an Amazing World of Gumball expert. I'm just a really big fan, and I've watched the show like numerous times and rewatched it numerous times. So don't take my word for anything besides just my word. All in all, this would be my tier. This would be my tier list. You know, you can take it or leave it, but this is just my personal opinion on everything. So, with that, this has been my first TV show analysis. I am, if depending on how good it does, I might do more of these in the future. But, all you got to do is just ask, go in the comments. I mean, depending on like likes, how many views, just tell me with your words and engagement if you want to see more. If you want to check out my other videos, they're gonna be listed at the end here. I'll see you guys in the next one.